All right, guys. I think we're live. I think I hit the button right. I'm so pumped to be here. Yeah, look, I think so I think we're here, guys. I think I remembered how to do it, which I'm surprised. It's been one hell of a week, but hey, man, I'm so glad to just kind of be back with my bearded brothers because I really look forward to this. It's one of those things that I wish we did more. We've all got one of those. We've got those things called lives, and it's always nice when that time gets here and we can intersect and kind of hang out for a little bit. So I'm pumped to be back. And, I just remembered one thing, and I'm going to do it.
Hit it.
The four Beardsmen of the Bookpocalypse.
Yes. Even late, it still sounds amazing.
I dig it.
Yeah, it's good to hear the jingle again. I missed it.
Oh, did you miss it? Oh, here we go.
Four Beardsmen of the Bookpocalypse.
Yes. Love it. I love that. So, man, I was telling Daryl that I was watching his band,
Terminal Sun.
Terminal Sun. Yes. And, man, it was so cool, man, because I feel like I'm there's not a lot of people who listen to the same music as me, and I was wrong. We can all be weird together because, man, I love me some metal.
Yeah. I saw the pictures. I saw that. I was like, wait, the guitarist has 7 strings. The bassist has 5 strings.
Yeah.
They're metal. I got to find
They
them.
are.
I got to find
and then, DB's in the back, man, and he's got, I'm telling you, I'm a drummer. I recognize game when I see it. He's got it, man.
Yeah.
I love it. And you've got the china. It's like, there's no better sounding to me than a snare and a china at the same exact time.
I love some china. I love a loud china.
Big
Absolutely.
18 china. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Nice.
That old school trash can lid, right?
Yeah. Nice.
Well, man, I don't remember. I think actually I do remember. Was it Tim who dropped the question last live? I think it was Tim.
I bet it was Tim. Tim is a question dropping fool.
He's a pretty good burning question kind of guy. Yeah,
he is.
So Tim McKay over here. Here's my guy.
John. Hey, John.
There's John. Yes.
Hey, Tim.
So Tim says, howdy, Beard, and a bunch of other stuff, too, that we'll get to. But, yeah, I think he's the one that dropped the question. David, would you speak that question and let us know what it is?
For sure. What fictional beard would you most like to emulate?
Okay, so we'll start with you, David, and I'll tell you what, we'll start with Tom, and then we'll go around, and I'll finish.
Challenge myself,
homie.
Because I seem to, whenever you ask me a question, respond with the character from Lord of the Rings. So I ban myself from saying Gimli from Lord of the Rings because that would be the obvious one.
Good choice, however.
There's not that many beards I emulate because I've got a fucking long beard.
You do.
You've already got the beard. You've already got the pinnacle.
Yeah, I've got the beard. If I could pick one, which I could just sort of maintain as the ideal beard, it would be Kratos from God of War Ragnarok.
Oh, yes.
Nice.
Because that is just perfection.
Yeah, it's a chiseled.
Dense beard.
Very dense. Angular.
And he's just a badass, period. So it's hard not to want everything about that guy, right?
He's just consistently badass.
Absolutely.
Throughout every single God of War game that I've played, and will go on to play if they keep releasing them. So come on,
man, I hope so.
Wait, it's been about 2 years since Ragnarok. Come on, what are they doing?
And the stories are so good in those games.
They are.
I've not even got to Ragnarok yet.
Ooh, I don't want to say anything.
I did it on the PSP as well. There was a PlayStation Portable version. I think you had 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2 on the PS2.
Yeah.
Number 3 on the PS3. And then I did the PSP one, which I don't think anyone played because no one had a fucking PSP.
I did for a time.
I did too for like a month. Yeah, I know.
I wanted one, but I don't think I knew of any games I would have on it.
My hands hurt.
Yeah, dude. I can't even play a Switch, dude. I can't. It's really sad. I can't get used to the Switch.
It's like wanting like, okay, let's just say it's a hot day out and you want a beer, right? Or it's whatever you crave when you're really thirsty. Me in the summertime, I like a good beer, but and then your kid gives you like a high C or something. This kind of same thing with PSP and a PlayStation for me. Just never really came through. But David, what was your answer to that wonderful question?
I thought about it a lot. Obviously, like Tom said, Lord of the Rings kind of has a whole, especially if you start looking at films, you have a lot to choose from. So I was looking through images, I was digging, I was like, what would be the best one? And for a bit, I was thinking about Radagast from the Hobbit films, just because it's coated in bird shit, and I think that kind of really matches the energy of those movies. Anyway, coated in bird shit is the Hobbit movies for me.
I had to tell my wife that it wasn't. She thought it was like moss or. Which is a good answer. I mean,
maybe it is, but I think it's no. But here's my answer.
Yeah.
If you're ready.
Oh, I think I am. I don't know. I can. Oh yes, Treebeard.
I am not altogether on anybody's side because nobody is altogether on my side. Nobody
Nice.
the woods as I am. Not even elves.
I love that.
This was fashion today.
You have to keep that on the entire. You can't.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, that would be
there was
hard,
a brief moment where I thought it was a Chewbacca mask. I was like, fucking all over Beard.
Well, it didn't occur to me while I was building it that my mic is sitting right in the way of it. Look, I got it's the last.
That's
life
legit.
Of this particular mask. I just stapled a mask and staples and a little bit of the outdoors.
I love that. Yes, Tim, my guy, dude. Yes, that is wonderful.
Thanks,
I want to
Tim.
say, Jeff, thank you so much for that comment, man. I truly appreciate that. And I'm getting there, so I appreciate you, Jeff.
Yes, the internet has breathed a sigh of relief that you are back in it, brother.
For sure, man.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that so much. My man Uzman. He was the last guy I had on here. And what a fun guy, man. I knew it was going to be fun, but I told him, I said, we get along on every single, like, just kind of like me and you guys. It's like, I think we were separated at birth. That's my brother from another mother.
Just one letter away. Almost beards and books. Almost.
Yeah, right.
Close.
And he's got a nice start to a good beard. I think he said his wife or his girlfriend doesn't like a big long beard, but hey, man, he's still rocking the short one. So lots of respect, Uzman.
Yeah.
If he needs to borrow this, I can mail it.
Ooh, I may need you to mail it just so I can experience it.
Custom for Beardsmen, the Bookpocalypse.
Maybe I'll hang it. Maybe it'll live back here.
There you go. I'm so much looking forward to this next answer, Daryl. I would love to hear you pondering, as my friend.
Okay. So I'll put a bit of a teaser out on Twitter. Mr. CJ Daly was the only guy that recognized the picture. And I'm going to show you the full picture now. My ultimate beard, functional, beautiful. Davy Jones.
Okay.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, and I
don't
see where
feel
that image...
bad about the terrible things I was going to say that it looked like.
Terrible or
Yeah.
Well, if it looks like that, yes, terrible.
Yeah. I kind of thought, that's not worth putting on the internet. And then I thought, that's exactly why I should put it on the internet.
This is
Right?
true.
Oh man, that's great. Oh, that's good too, because I never went there. Like you have that mind to where it's like I'm thinking purely hair, right? And you just took it to another dimension. I do have to say that mine might be boring after hearing the three of yours, because one of them has already been said, so I have to say something different. So if it's not Kratos, because that was definitely my answer.
Really?
But because and to me, it's kind of what we've already said. Like, you go straight to Lord of the Rings. At least, I mean, I certainly did, and I'm still going to go there because it has to be one of our answers. Gandalf. I mean, just the wisest.
Gandalf.
Yeah, I mean, you see that long beard and it's gray. That's, I think, the most important part.
I was going to ask, gray or white?
White.
That's a good question. I think
White's
I'm going to have
pure.
to say white. I think I'm going to have to say white too, just not only because I know the story, but it says it's the wisdom, right? Just so much wisdom that comes with.
Oh, right.
Yes,
You know.
I agree. Yes.
I just can't wait for I'm older and my beard turns white and I can say, it's Tom Bookbeard the White now.
Yes, I will certainly call you that.
I was once known as Tom. Remember that
Tom
name?
Bookbeard.
Sounds familiar.
Well, good. I'm glad that we all got that.
With a beard thing at the minute, I'm attempting to grow a third beard.
Oh, yeah.
1, 2, 3 is my next challenge.
I think you're one of the only people, like I've said this before, man. You pull that off well with, and I always talk highly of the dreads too, man. They're sick. Just you've got that uniqueness, bro. You really do. I love it.
I answered a question on an interview today. It asked us about, one of the questions was about this show, and I took one sentence about roughly. You guys may have seen this when I posted it to talk about each of the individuals on the podcast with me, and I used the term inverse goatee. So then I Googled it, and that is actually what that, or in some forms, that might be an inverse goatee plus a goatee now.
Yeah, I got it. Oh, yeah.
That's going to be, you have to come up with a name for that. That's now it's like the inverse plus one or something.
It's a quantum goatee.
Oh, yeah.
Goatee, yes.
Because who doesn't want to say that they have something called the quantum?
Something quantum.
Yeah, 100. Which, oh, man, I love that. So I know it's not really part of what we're doing here, but, man, I'm reading a badass book right now. Have you guys read this by Tilda Coldholt? Wow. Look, if you're into Norse, which is really the only reason I picked it up, and the Broken Minding just did a really badass version of the trilogy too. It's the Hanged God trilogy. But she did a lot of cool research. Like she was on a Viking warship, like rowing and shit.
Oh gosh.
She did a lot more than I'm able to rehearse at the moment. You should guys check it out. But dude, it's dark. It's nice and violent. It's got a great story, wonderful characters. I had to drop that in there. So you guys should check it out.
Sounds
Yeah,
awesome.
what are we all reading at the moment? I don't think we ever asked this question, do we?
That's probably my
question.
favorite question to ask anybody. So let's dive
I'm
into
on
it.
Red site, and this is an arc, so it's not going to look like this. This is just the promo copy, but this is good. It's sort of like The Handmaid's Tale, but they're these sort of vampire blood mage space witches, and they use their blood magic to navigate the star systems with these big fuck off ships. And there's so much blood in this book. It's ridiculous.
Who's it by?
It is by Meredith Mooring.
Okay.
It's one coming out next week from Solaris. I need to finish it. I'm like this close. I'm really close to finish it.
Every time you open your mouth, I have another book I need to read.
Yeah, dude.
Sanguinous Space Witches. That's what it is.
Sanguinous. Oh, man.
Sanguinous Space Witches.
Yeah.
I like the sound of that.
The Order of the Sanguine series by James Rollins and Rebecca Cantrell. Since you said sanguine, I had to say the only other word, but it's badass too.
I will say it has one very steamy sex scene in it.
Steamy.
Which seems to be a thing at the moment. Steamy sex scenes on my Christian Minecraft server. So don't read this around your grandma or anything like that. Yes.
Hey, Grandma, come look at this.
Well, this the other day, I was reading this scene and my other half goes, "Can you come take out the recycling?" I'm like, "God damn it, not now." Don't look at me.
That's awesome.
Oh, man.
Nick Horvath is in the building. The 6'10" rebounding wonder. Sledge.
Well then, hey, ask me what I'm reading.
What are you reading?
I'm still on Sledge.
Nice. I mean,
I'm dragging my feet. I got to a scene. I don't want to spoil anything, but he's I'll be honest, man. It looks like he's about to get brutally tortured.
There's quite a few.
There's quite a few of instances and it worried me. So I put it down for a moment and I haven't picked it back up yet because I'm worried about how bad it's going to go.
Nobody can ever keep Sledged out.
That's what I figure.
Josh, man, hell yeah, you're still cool, dude.
Brother, look, anybody who can't grow a beard, I got your solution right here. All you need is staples, a mask, and a tree that's got bark.
Or just self-acceptance. That'll do it too.
There you go.
You can just love yourself.
Mr. Positivity.
Yeah.
Mustaches are cool too. Just throwing that out there.
Absolutely.
But also, Ghosts of Tomorrow. I'm finally getting into some Fletcher.
Ghosts of Tomorrow. Why do I feel like I should know what that is?
That is one. I saw somebody mention it to you when you were asking about, I think, Cyberpunk, and they mentioned it. It's Michael Fletcher, and I could be wrong.
That's right.
It's got the dude with all the arms on the cover.
An amazing cover. Yeah. A cover that says, read me.
Slice, dice, shooty.
It's like, I'm sure that anybody who reviews books or attempts to review books or talk to authors or in this community at all, it's like there's so many titles and there's so many authors that like get thrown at you. It's like, I feel like I know that one. And I did. I know I can picture it now, but
you
impress me. Lost.
You do a good job of linking a name to a cover to a face, and it seems to come back to you very, very quickly. It would not me. I'm horrible.
Yeah.
Remembering stuff.
I would say as long as I've seen it in like the last 6 months or so, but after that, it's like there's a limit to it, you know. We did this one, John. Yeah, we did that one. I think I don't remember my answer though. It's definitely like a.
We totally did, and I don't remember my answer either.
Yeah. So that's just you got to check the other
lightsaber, and I thought it was too easy. Oh, it was.
Yeah, we did it with Alex Valdez, didn't we?
Going on the sword. That was my answer.
Right.
That's why I didn't answer it. I didn't get to that one until after you guys had spoke about it.
Well,
yes. And Alex was talking about the one that was. Alex had the defensive weapon from a obscure book where if you touch him, you get electrocuted or something like that.
Yeah.
A book that was also a movie. I actually looked that up. He made it sound crazy. Some Russian book.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. For some reason, I can't think of the name of it. I just actually had it in a little piece I was writing, and somebody beta read it or whatever. It was just a practice thing, and they wanted to see it. And I spoke about it. I just can't remember the name of it. I'll think of it soon. But until then, let's. I love that this was kind of born out of an idiotic comment that I said. The big idea, right? When you're writing. Which is something very new to me, and I love that everybody has been so like nice with my, I guess, lack of knowledge when it comes to actually writing. So
it helps. It helps that you're not. It helps that you're not stuck up and you don't have these. You're not like snooty. You're very. I don't know. You're not ashamed. You'll ask any question, and I think that's kind of lacking in the world. A lot of folks are very. I don't know. They want to look like they're smarter than they are.
Yeah. That is absolutely like one of the worst tastes that metaphorically I can have in my mouth. It's like I speak to somebody and they're like, dude, duh. Like, shouldn't you know that, bro?
Right.
It's like, you know, I never really wanted to hit somebody so bad, you know. So to always kind of strive to have that open-mindedness that none of us are perfect. And if you got a question, ask it, man. But yeah, I love that. So, Daryl, would you kind of go into what the topic is with this big idea topic?
So that is it. The big idea. If you sit down at your desk or whatever and you start writing your book, do you need a big idea? Do you need the universe-altering massive event? Do you not need that? I mean,
I love that. I do.
Ultimately, you need something that's gonna that you're protagonists are aiming to change. I guess that is the bottom line, whether that's change the world, save the next village. You know, there needs to be something there. But I personally, when I sit down to write, and I don't know if this is something that kind of will see literary geniuses around the world shaking their heads, but I find a tiny little concept and I go, shit, that is cool. That I want that, and I write that, and then I blossom that into something else, and then the big idea, the big kind of the massive thing that will happen or won't happen at the end of the book or at the end of the trilogy is way down the line. The first thing I want is this guy grows wings and he flies, and that's the cool concept that I'm now going to explore, and I extrapolate that into a story. Does
that kind of take the pressure off somewhat? You know you want this to be a trilogy, and but to sit down and what E.L. Montague throws up here is the Bic method, which would be button chair method. Just kind of like sit down and do your thing, and you want to do a trilogy, and it's going to come to you with this starter idea that doesn't have to be this huge idea. For me, I think that's going to be really close to my answer.
I think you have to be very careful that you're not so regimented in where you're going to get to that you just smother yourself to get there. So
100% of what I did, I sat here and would look at the screen for like an hour, not a single word written.
Yeah,
just because I put all these shackles on myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And big stuff here. Callous and Crow. When I started writing Callous and Crow, I'd literally started writing it, so it was outlined. The words were going onto the paper. It was never going to leave. I mean, I'm talking like everybody's read the book, but it was never going to leave the area where it started.
Yeah.
So it was never going to go beyond a little western farmland. And if I was so regimented in where the story was going to go, I would have struggled to go beyond that. And during writing it, fleshed out more and more concepts came together, and I needed to leave that world and go to another world. If I'd have been too strict on myself, I would have never left that world, and it'd have been a smaller story.
I 100% see that. I love that. So, David, I'm going to come to you next, and Tom, I know you're writing, and I'm super pumped to read your writing.
Me too.
Yeah. So what I'm doing this year is going through and doing my reviews of, well, there's going to be 2 from just the people sitting right here. But I've been listening to your audiobook, which I am absolutely love it. I love the dedication at the beginning, by the way. I'm glad that you did that. That was amazing.
I had to.
Yeah, dude. I respect the shit out of that.
Yeah.
But talk about your big idea. Was there a big idea? I mean,
if there's a central one, I'm a collector of sorts of ideas. What DB is talking about makes me think of Stephen King, but it also makes me think of Adrian Tchaikovsky, and that, but a little bit of Brandon Sanderson. Because so like the big thing that you picture something awesome, and I know Brandon Sanderson, he'll picture something awesome, and then he'll be like, okay, how do I get there? And he'll reverse engineer this fucking awesome scene. And I'm guessing, because I haven't read a ton of Sanderson books, I read Way of Kings. I can't remember it. I like Sanderson, and I respect his writing, and I respect his books. I don't think they're necessarily 100% for me. I might be too. They just don't mesh. Point is, he has these massive, toward the end of his books, he has these massive fucking things happen that he has reverse engineered, and then his writing process is the act of coming to this awesome place. Whereas somebody like Tchaikovsky, I think, goes like, well, what if spiders got uplifted?
Yeah, dude.
And then he just starts going, and that's what Darryl sounds like. What Darryl's like, I want this cool thing. Let's just see. I'm not going to put chains. I'm not going to put it indoors. I'm just going to see where it goes. And Stephen King famously goes like, well, what if cars came alive and started killing people? And then he just sets off, man. And some people would say like Stephen King's endings are not as strong because he does not write with the ending in mind. He writes with what you're seeing in mind. Cujo, the dog that's gonna whatever. The kid comes back from Pet Cemetery to get murdery. You know, how's it play out doesn't matter so much as this shit that's going to the car that comes alive and kills people or whatever. As far as I would call myself a bit of a collector, and so Violence and Vigilance, a lot of ideas. As most of these stories, I write down ideas. I'll have a little booklet of sorts that I sometimes keep in my pocket. And if I'm walking around, not this, I don't have pockets this big, but like, you know, I'll just write a little thing. I'll pull it out of my pocket. I'll write a little thing and I'll keep going. Sometimes I'll put a note on my phone, but sometimes these ideas, and I do it just so that I can make room for more ideas so that I don't feel like I've missed a thing, especially if it's something that's cool. Sometimes it's just a quote. I'll hear somebody say a quote. The other day I heard somebody say, "You can't fix stupid." That's not an unusual quote, but it was some lady who was like buying a Red Bull for somebody in a convenience store. They're all in flip-flops. Clothes looked like they pulled them out of a trash. It looked something about the whole situation seemed very like dystopian. And she said, "Can't fix stupid." And I'm like, you're fucking right. I don't know. It was real weird. It was such a surreal. I had to take a screenshot, but I'll gather all these notes and then they'll start kind of clinging. Some of them cling to each other. And in this book, so Mario Brothers was one of the original inspirations because whenever Super Mario Brother, whenever he dies, you just come back and you do it again. He can die infinity times and he just comes back. And so that was an idea that was with the start of this book. And then after a lot of writing, I realized it wasn't going to work. So that one kind of fell off. And that was a very long and painful process. But ideas that did stick were like UFC, gladiator matches. There's a show called Spartacus, Blood and Sand. It's not called Blood and Tits. We all called it Blood and Tits, but it was actually called Blood and Sand. Very, very Skinaflix kind of show. But it had the politics. Blood and Tits, dude. It had the politics of like arena fighting, had the Lannistas, backstab. There's a lot of backstabbing going on, but also, you know, Gladiator had a lot of the same stuff. And then UFC has grudge matches. You have crowd favorites and stuff. And so a lot of those ideas and people fighting animals, that's a feature in Violence and Vigilance. They kind of began to merge, and then characters started kind of coming to me like, okay, so who's a Lannista? Who would own these folks? He's got to be good, but at the same time, he's a slave owner. So how good can he really be? And characters would kind of arise from this cloud. It's not the most reliable way, I realize, to get an idea down, but I think it's my ADHD kind of like way of seeing a whole lot of different things and then starting to see a pattern like a crazy person. With the All-Scan side, the song magic. So one time I saw a video of somebody polyphonic singing. They were singing and two tones were coming out of them.
Oh, wow.
So then I went down a real, went searching for it. And there's a band called The Who. They're kind of metal.
Yes.
They're Mongolian.
Yeah. Hell yeah, they are.
You can hear them kind of like
throat singing. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. They're producing multiple tones at once. And so then I'm like, well, what if you could do that, but produce 7 tones? And I mixed that with this is what's called sympathetic resonance. One time I was in my kitchen at my parents' house and I was screaming or singing or something. And I got quiet and one of the pans was singing back at me. And I realized that if you make a certain note, it triggers an effect in the pan. So of course, then I'm like, well, what if you could sing that way into a jungle and you find the correct combination of pitches to sing at a jungle to make lightning strike on a clear day? And so that's kind of where their song magic came from. But also, that. I got some part of me sometimes has a little bone to pick with religion, and that comes out pretty strongly in the All-Sky. So they're all monks. And so there's a little religious exploration going on over there. God, this was such a convoluted answer. I'm sorry.
No, that's Tom beautiful. Seriously, dude. No, what Mike, you're answering my question. Well, it was really not even my question. It's just like, this idea popped in my head and I found myself like trying to come up with this big idea when in fact, that's not maybe my answer.
Always the thing.
I can bring it all around. My answer for the big idea is don't wait for it and don't look for it. You don't need a big idea. What you need is 100 small ideas.
It was so funny that you brought up the Who, because the last guy I had on here was Usman, and he told me a couple bands. I said, "Have you heard of the Who?" So he's brand new to the Who, and dude, he's digging them too.
It's so crazy. Such a unique sound too, and their instruments. I don't know what the hell those are, but I need them.
Yeah, they're very like traditional Mongolian to type. Like Mongolia, yes, but they're so cool.
But and they're distorted.
Oh. Yeah, dude. And the throat singing, I think that's like, I've heard of people doing that. And like, they actually have like a throat singing, like a techno kind of, this guy will start going, oh, and then they'll add this badass little beat, like rave beat to it. And all of a sudden you want to do ecstasy and go like dance somewhere.
Feel the lights.
Yeah. I don't remember what it's called, but it's really cool. So Bards, I'm super happy you're digging them, man. They're badass
for sure.
I just had some. Oh, Nick, he had a really cool comment up here. Heard of the snowflake method, Matt? I have not. He says it's why you start by writing a single declarative sentence that describes your book.
Yeah.
I could see a Sledge book nailing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have a lot of sentences in my phone that are kind of
the defining.
Boom. That is a book.
Yeah.
I have to do some more research but I think that's a wonderful idea. I wouldn't know personally what that would look like or sound like, but that's something I can look into.
If you haven't started yet, especially, this would be the perfect time to go like, all right, sentence, and then go from there. I don't know how hard or easy that would be.
It's your elevator pitch as well at the same time.
Oh yeah, and I
finding the novel in one sentence. Yeah, I like that.
And if you skip that process and you get a massive book finished before you have an elevator pitch, you're fucked. Good luck to you coming up with an elevator pitch.
I think you have to be careful as well because you kind of put a concept out there of what your book is, and then you're so intent on writing a story that concludes and gets somewhere. So, like, if you look at TV shows like Walking Dead, Sons of Anarchy, stuff like that, I like stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And there's a big theme running through it all, and there's a story going there, and you're going to get to the end. But every now and then you just think, can you just please do some biker shit for one episode? Can you just please, like, search through a building for some cans of food in a zombie-infested universe without hitting the big idea? Just once. That's why I love this stuff. Just give me a bit of that. Give me a hit.
Right.
I like that. So,
this is season 1. They have the huge shootout with the Mayans and Sons of Anarchy. That was cool.
Oh, yeah.
It took several episodes to get there, though.
That was the one with the landmine, and somebody just disappears.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Even after he got his back fixed, I think. It was the same character who had his back tattoo taken off with fire.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering correctly.
That sounds spiritual.
Don't get me wrong. If you just had the episodes of biker shit, then you would be unsatisfied. But you've got to balance.
Right.
So not balance. Yeah.
Look, I don't want to hop in front of Tom, but Nick, it looks like Nick has stated that one sentence pitch that is Sledge.
Modern day gladiator trapped in a dark web assassin's network. Yeah. I like that. I'm glad you put that up there because that gives me a better visual in my head. That's how I picture absolutely your writing or Sledge. But before you put that up there, it was very grainy to me what that would look like. So I appreciate it. Tom, I guess this is my chance to also get to ask you the process in which you are with your book and kind of the route you've taken.
Sky Pirates.
I have an old school process. Sky Pirates, and now I'm doing the deck building Weird Western as well. So there's 2.
Okay.
You touched on what I wanted to say, Matt, when you said you were waiting for the big idea and you just started writing. I think in a way, writing a book is a bit like getting a tattoo. You go through your 20s thinking, I'm going to get a tattoo one day, but it has to mean something. It has to be really important thing. And you know, I hit 30 and I've got a tattoo of plankton on my leg holding Cloud's Buster sword. This doesn't mean fucking anything.
Show us.
But the point is, if you want to write a book, just write a book. Like David was saying, you can get inspired anywhere. For me, when I wrote the Sky Pirate story, I watched On Stranger Tides, the Pirates of the Caribbean film. And I thought, well, that ain't how Blackbeard works. So originally the Corsair was a historical fiction because I've always liked pirates. And I thought I can write historical fiction. Blackbeard will be the main antagonist and we'll do it right. Basically, we won't do what Stranger Tides did. Because come on, rigging that comes to life and snares people, voodoo. Not my Blackbeard.
No, my Blackbeard.
Not my Blackbeard.
Love it. Tim likes
And
that
then
analogy.
I personally found that writing a historical fiction was very restricting. You know, you're so constrained by history, at least for me. I couldn't make it work. I mean, you read some of the Patrick O'Brien stuff, which is incredible, like awesome series of books, but I'm not Patrick O'Brien. So then I shelved that book for like a year or two. And then I read one of my favorite ever books again, Treasure Island. And I just, this random idea popped in my head. Like, what if Jim Hawkins actually joined Long John Silver and also the ships can fly? And I thought, hey, that's a cool idea. And then I remembered I'd written this rigid historical fiction. And I thought, well, hey, that was pretty decent. Let's take that and let's set it free. And I bought a brand new notepad and I wrote this thing by hand. That turned into 2, 3, 4, 5 different notebooks. And then I typed the whole thing up. And I got very drunk because it's a pirate book. So I was method writing.
Yeah, dude.
Yes.
Put on some sea shanties and I wrote that sucker.
Nice.
And now it's back with me because my editor sent it back to me back end of last year. So I need to finish that.
Awesome.
But the point is, just when you get an idea, run with it. Or just, I like the BIC method that was mentioned by Ian Montague in the comments. Sit down and start writing, see what happens.
This is not going to be your magnum opus.
There it is.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that it's going to be a short story or even just a paragraph and let it and see where it goes.
Yeah. But Ryan Cahill, The Bound and the Broken is the first book he ever wrote.
Yeah, dude.
This is his first book series. Of Blood and Fire was the very first book he wrote, and he's doing really well.
He is doing really.
Just go for it. Like, what have you got to lose?
Yeah.
And I think my latest trajectory or evolution into this for me is like just to have fun. I'm trying to remember who I was just the last speaking with, and their book. He mentioned he just thought it was going to be nothing. Just wanted to sit down and do it for fun, and see where it went. And he did, and it turned into like 250,000 words, and that sounds pretty fun to me. You know, you get lost in this creative freedom that you give yourself. But I think myself overthinking everything. And maybe I had a similar experience with that you did, Tom, with I wanted to do something historical as well. And I was talking to Daryl about it, like being accurate as far as Viking history. And I found myself just way too strapped down. Like I would perfect myself out of writing ever. So I think it's going to be it's not going to be that route. I want to do something I can totally make up and not have to be, what's the word? So constrictive to myself. Like, oh, is this person going to call me out because I'm not exactly right on this topic?
Right.
You don't need the scrutiny of the historical history world.
Listen, but if you did, even if you did, and I'm thinking about this because the show Shogun is coming out in the next week on whatever network it's coming out, and I cannot wait. Yeah, that was a historical. You'll even if you write historical fiction that is researched to death, you'll probably find somebody saying you got that entirely wrong. That's completely wrong. You're stupid, fake, poser, or whatever.
Yeah.
You're going to get haters if you're doing something right.
Yeah, I definitely can see how that would happen because I don't remember the last person that did this, but it was really shocking to me. Like, it was a comment that was made on Twitter to an author about their book, and it was just so far out there mean, and really didn't have a lot to do with what the person wrote about in the book. And I'm not scared of that situation. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't like myself when I respond to those situations very well. Yeah, dude, I don't like when people bring that out of me. So
yeah, me either.
I think there's a lot of anxiety that goes into me potentially having that happen.
I think what Tom said as well. It's important to know. It's important to know who you're not. I am not Ryan Carhill. I am not this guy who wrote this historical fiction accurately. I am me, and I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah, I think you've just got to love that, and you've got to just go for it.
You just made me think of this. I'm scared to write about horses to the point that I don't think I'm going to put horses on the entire fantastical world that I've made, that I plan to have books and books and books. I don't think there's going to be any more horses because I know how easy people get them wrong and how plentiful the horse crowd is. And it's not a matter of pissing somebody off. I just know that if I'm watching a thing and there's something that's like inaccurate, just blatantly inaccurate, it throws me out a little bit.
So my wife is a nurse, and anytime anybody on TV ends up in hospital, and it's like, that's wrong, look at that machine, look at the stats, and I don't want to be on the wrong end of that.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. So instead, we're just not going to have horses. You guys get to ride dogs. Sorry. You guys get to ride dogs. And that's where Orcanes came from. That's where Bark Sharks came from.
Which are pretty badass. I love those. Yeah. And they're scary too, man.
They are scary.
So I've been on Amazon a lot, naturally being, kind of strapped down to a bed lately. And I buy some stupid shit sometimes. Particularly in the last month or so, I've been checking out a lot of the TTRPG games that I keep hearing so many wonderful things about. And this was one of the founding ideas of us talking. And we really haven't touched a lot on it. And I'm glad to get kind of started with it because I think it was... No, I know it was Dungeons and Dragons. It was like this introductory. It came with like 3 rule books, whatever the hell that means. And it was like $90. It looked really badass. I understand nothing about it, but let's start on it. I'm going to start with a question. When it comes to TTRPG games, what are you looking for? What do you know what to buy? Let's start with Tom. Okay.
Damn, why did he have to ask me first? That's such a broad question, man.
Because you're an expert.
Can I just clarify before you start? So
go ahead.
Are you saying you're an entirely blank slate on this?
Dude, yes. I've never sat down. I know that there's a main guy, a dungeon master, that kind of makes things up as he goes. Maybe he does it. Maybe I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about there. That's who you're speaking with.
Some systems where there's no dungeon master and everyone just kind of makes shit up on the spot.
That sounds like chaos.
I don't know.
I'll tell you what I've been attracted so far is like watching TBR Con when you did with Jeff Spate and Andy Ewington and a couple other people. Just
Astrid Knight. That was fun.
Just how creative. I didn't understand why so many authors that I spoke with brought up Dungeons and Dragons or TTRPGs, and now I am very interested in learning more because I see how that could be a catalyst for so many ideas.
I think it goes back to being a reader of sci-fi fantasy. I think when you have the Venn diagram of TTRPG players and sci-fi fantasy fans, it's just one circle. You can go out of it, that's fine, but most likely if you read sci-fi fantasy at some point, you could at least have a passing interest in RPGs. For me, it goes back years and years. I'm an only child, but I played a lot of the classic RPGs on Super Nintendo, N64, GameCube, or PlayStation consoles, PC as well. That sort of controlling your own narrative, being the main character, or telling a collaborative story, that was always something I enjoyed doing. And when I was growing up, there was a series called the Lone Wolf books. I think they came out in the late 80s, early 90s, where it's that classic. I think we talked about it in episode 1, didn't we? Where you pick up the book, roll up your character. These are my weapons. This is how much gold I'm starting off with. And then it's like, do you want to go down the road or do you want to climb up the mountain? Turn to page 63 or turn to page 291. So that choose your own adventure was completely amazing to me. You read a book, you're on a linear story. You're going where the author wants you to go. Whereas now you can control what happens. You are the main character. You have a say of what's going on. And when I first started playing RPGs, no one knew what they were doing. It was just one guy with a book making shit up, and we're all just having fun. So I think I got into it playing Horus Heresy, which is a Warhammer one.
Okay.
So we were all just Space Marines gunning down chaos. That was interesting.
I try to remember that movie that was Space Marines. I'll think of it. It was so good. It's such a 90s corny movie now, but
was it that satirical parody?
Shit. I remember.
Were they fighting bugs?
Yes.
Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers. That's it. Dude,
yeah,
man. I don't know. Random thought. Sorry.
But it just kind of evolved from there. We went from not knowing what we're doing to. I got a friend. I call him Board Game Dave, because no prize for guessing what we do when we hang out. He wrote his own RPG just from scratch, and that's really what got me into it. That you can create something that you can all then tell a story with, and it's just done by rolling dice. And it's just, this is my character. I was a paladin, so it was like this urban fantasy, modern day setting. It's like you're all mercs. You go hunting werewolves and witches and vampires. So like, I want to be a crazy ass paladin guy.
Nice.
Like, that proper street preacher kind of vibe, like way over the top, like hell and brimstone and sinners, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And I thought it'd just be funny to play a guy who would run around with a huge Zweihander and carve people open in the street and then try and argue that it was just because they were a vampire.
In the name of good.
Yeah.
So the street preacher inspired a character in V&V, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's somebody who murders folks and he feels completely justified doing it. Murders whole towns.
But that's cool shit.
Yeah,
and then from there, I started getting into D&D. And Christ, that was like 15 years ago now. And here we are.
Do you find it helps you when you're writing to maybe that you've kind of explored a certain character or race of characters or different situations those characters have been put in by your playing these games, the TTRPG?
I feel like whether you're running a game or whether you're taking part in a game, it's a really great way of putting yourself in a character's headspace. You stop being Tom or Matt or DB or David. You are that character, and you can translate that to writing. You can put yourself in a character's shoes a lot better because you played that character. And essentially, what any RPG is the games master or the system will say, this is a scene. What is your character going to do? And it's answering that question in a way that's true to your character, which, if you think about it, is the way you write a book. I'm going to set the scene. This is what my characters are going to do. And that's why when you write a book, you can often be surprised, even as the author, where a scene goes. You know, a character can suddenly do something. You're like, oh my goodness.
That is very much what I'm after.
But
and you'll have to do some rewriting. I've had some characters get their nose bitten off, and I'm like, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
But even when you're running a campaign or a session, it is looking at the plot. You need that narrative to peak, you need it to dip, you need a slow section, you just need to keep the story engaging. And when you do that with authors, you get some cool shit happening.
Yeah, it's I'm very interested in finally. I want to kind of figure out how we could do it. Well, I've seen you do it. In fact, I don't know why I say would it be hard. I guess it would take some planning, right, to do one of these as a live, or would it?
For a GM, but yeah, I think
for a
that's doable.
GM, right? Not necessarily for everybody.
We have got the world's best GM in the room right now,
with the richest voice.
Bookbeard.
Oh, Bookbeard. Well, I feel like we should try that. Of course, I'm not the one that I'm kind of the guy that is just going to show up and try to do my best, right?
We might group source a story. You might have a say in what a starting scenario for a little thing might be.
That would be badass.
It's whatever. I think
we start hanging upside down by your ankles in an orc encampment. They're about to eat you for dinner. Go from there.
Yes, it's great to start with the conflict cranked freaking wide open.
Yeah,
and it also, it probably limits some of the more stupid things some of the funnier people might say, like, "Oh, I'm going to go get clam chowder. I don't care where I am. I'm getting clam chowder," or something like that.
Clam chowder. All right, that would be. That's not my envision when I think D&D, right? There's people who play for.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, some folks want to be the biggest clown in the room, and that is their one objective, and they will do it. And they'll break the game for everybody, and not necessarily in a bad way. It's entertaining because that's the goal.
That's the beauty. The characters that are in that game are being the characters in that game, and you don't get that anywhere else.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
You need to talk about it amongst all the players and the GM first. Don't just go on full Jar Jar Binks right from session one.
Leroy Jenkins.
Without speaking to everyone else about what sort of game it is. If it's a serious dungeon crawler, then someone's going, "How would?" It doesn't work.
How would? Dude, I don't know if there's any more of an influential character in the 90s for me than Jar Jar Binks, dude. Like Darth Maul, Jar Jar Binks, yes. And I'm not even a Star Wars fan for real.
Not either. We all have heard it argued that he is the ultimate Sith Lord, and I don't remember what the argument was, but I like it. He's chaos.
Yeah.
Jar Jar Binks. That dude was so cool. He's definitely on drugs. So there's this thing that's kind of been going around Twitter, and I have no idea what's going on. I've been a little out of the Twitter space lately, or wherever you're at. What's up with prologues, man? Anybody can start. I have no idea.
So I'll chime in. I'll chime in first because I think this kind of I've been trying to avoid this, but actually, so. Callous and Crow is written in an epistolary kind of way, which means it's got lots of letters, newspaper articles. It's got lots of different bits and bobs of information at the beginning of chapters, which flesh out the world, which gives you a backdrop. Which, because a lot of it is first person, it gives you a lot of insight into somewhere else and what something else is happening. And then your story takes place in that world. And when I started writing it, I came across this kind of movement of you need to write this in such a way that it's not important because people might skip it. And I was like, what?
What does that even mean?
You can't skip bits. That every word in my book needs to be read by its reader.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if somebody read Callous and Crow with that kind of blasé blasé attitude of I'll just skip the italic bits, then they would get a lesser experience of my story.
Are people trying to say that it's okay to skip the prologue? Is that what you're saying? That's never okay.
People do.
I believe you, but why?
It's not a lesser part of the book. It's just a kind of
I've never considered it.
Somebody who said it, I just peeped over the comments. I can't stay on the comments because they'll derail me, but EL said they're often done poorly. And I agree with that. And sometimes I'll read a prologue and it's 1,000 years ago and it's world building and I don't necessarily skip it, but I might skim it because I know that without certain elements like a character doing something, that information might not stick to me. I might not remember it. It's because it comes off like exposition sometimes.
Yeah.
When I say 1,000 years ago, I'm thinking about The Way of Kings. I think it has 2 freaking prologues, and each one is 50 pages or so.
Oh wow!
I'm sure I'm wrong. I'm sure I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I had some prologue skippers in mind for the beginning of this. So I wrote Violence and Vigilance from different points of view. I kind of love how Abercrombie will jump from point of view to point of view, and you'll get, especially in the heroes. I bet it was in the heroes that he inspired me the most, where you're in the point of view of a person who is fighting in this big battle. The whole book culminates in this huge battle, and this person, right when he gets chopped down, you jump to the point of view of the person who chopped him down, and then you're going in that point of view until he gets chopped down. And it might not play out exactly like that, but it was really cool how it happened. Well, so when I started writing, I realized I was prioritizing a larger view of the world, and that's why I wanted to jump back and forth in different points of view. And I kind of was challenging myself to where there's no point of view that is off the table. Even if there's a twist, even if there's somebody who is definitely going to stop our heroes, I want to jump in his point of view and hear how it's done. What is my point? My point is, by the end of chapter 1, we've been through 4 separate character points of view. There's 2 that happen in the prologue. Yeah. And as far as I'm concerned, the prologue is optional. You can skip it.
I wondered how you felt about that, actually.
You can feel free. But if you do, it will redefine. There's going to be 2 definitions of this character.
Dude, Krause isn't the same dude without
Krause. It's going to be, you're going to have a different opinion of one of the characters for the duration of the story if you skip. That's what I think anyway. You may not.
You will. I would feel totally different about him if I would not have known what happened in
the prologue.
For sure.
And it'll be critical in book 2 as well. So I'm kind of part of me is kind of curious to talk to some prologue skippers and be like, well, what'd you think about this? And how much did you hate this guy, or whatever?
Yeah, because I would almost feel sorry for him if I did. Yeah, there's a big dive. Yeah, dude, for sure.
I mean, there's a lot of questions about what you're going to put in a prologue as well. I mean,
right. Yeah. And it has to be digested. I mean, if you want people to not skip it, it has to have the elements of the rest of your book. There has to be in my opinion, there has to be conflict.
What is a prologue? It's a setup to launch your book, I guess.
Yeah. And some might say
comment has come out with a haymaker. Can I just point that out? I find a prologue is where authors put the bodies of the darlings they killed. That's not me.
So, I don't know if you guys have read it. Christopher Russell, Rebirth by Christopher Russell. He has I believe it's like 100-page prologue. And like I had spoke with him, he's going to be on the channel. He sent me some artwork, this and that. And if I wasn't as invested in, him coming on the show and this and that, I would have not read the book because the prologue was so long. And I don't know why I feel that way, but it was like, even as like a chapter, it was way too long. And it could have summed up that whole thing in, a lot shorter. But I think that there's a lot of weight on a prologue for me. a lot of times it's completely made me more enthralled into a book, and then other times it's kind of turned me away.
I'll tell you something I struggle with, and John Douglas has mentioned this in the comments.
I saw
Not
that.
so much a prologue. Prologue's fine. Do your thing. Like, I'll read it. Hopefully it's important. It will tell me a bit of what to expect about the book. But it's when you start a book off with a list of names and countries and like, please don't just download the World Anvil page into the book. This has lost me. That's what I skip. Like, if I
what do they call it? Dramatis personae.
I'll go back if I get lost in the text, because now I know it's there, but I will not read that off the bat.
Oh no, there's no way. Now I never. I'll skim right over that.
Yeah,
because I just don't believe in studying something for pleasure.
Exactly. I don't want to. I'm not here to study. I'll figure it out. If it's. I saw somebody comment that they would read the prologue after they finished the book, so that they could get more of the book. And I feel like that makes more sense to me than it might for some, because now all those names that you see are actually going to mean something, and all the history. Maybe.
I feel like if your prologue is 100 pages, make it a novella.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Good point.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, now in his defense, also he probably heard so many that opinion so often. He redid the prologue, and now it's not in print. He directs you to his website for the shortened prologue. I wanted to kind of keep it authentic, and I read the prologue that he came out with for the print and the book. Very, it seemed like work though. That's for sure. Even if it was just like chapter 1, I would have felt that way, but especially as a prologue. No hate on him, or he's a great writer. I think he's grown a lot, but that one individually was hard.
My second book has got a prologue. I didn't have a prologue in the first one. The second one is almost designed to be kind of like a Guy Ritchie film. If you imagine, suddenly a film starts, you're in the action, and then it stops and goes, let me go back to the beginning and tell you.
Yeah.
My prologue is.
You're probably wondering how I got here.
Yeah.
Record scratch.
You're probably wondering why I only have one testicle now. Well, let me tell you.
You read it.
Look, y'all,
My sack.
This made me think of films a little bit. Like, so the Lord of the Rings, Galadriel is recounting a bit of what might be called a prologue. And of course, behind her, we have actual video footage of Isildur and their army fighting Sauron. So it's going to captivate one way or the other, but she is telling the prologue things that were lost. Some things that should not have been forgotten were lost, and stuff like that. She actually also says a line that is Treebeard's line. I was looking up some Treebeard quotes, and I was like, wait, he didn't say that. Galadriel. And no, it's been so long since I read the book that actually Treebeard says a line. Anyways, that is accredited to Galadriel. Then, not long ago, I watched a movie called Rebel Moon.
Yeah, dude. Why does everybody hate that movie?
Bro, it bounced off me so hard. God, it almost tooted every wrong note it possibly could. The prologue, it was very similar. It was somebody talking, and there's footage in the background. But all of a sudden, I realized I hadn't heard a fucking word. The prologue, I'm just looking at the visuals. Eyes are glassed over, and it's like a Rebel Moon, and I was like, and I realized I didn't catch a damn thing it said. I don't know I'm not to analyze a film right now, but it's weird because I guess there are good prologues and bad prologues in film or in book. With Cate Blanchett speaking, it's kind of hard to go wrong.
Yeah. Totally agree.
So
that answers my question.
Let's just throw in James Bond before we finish on this topic. James Bond, is that a prologue?
Good question. Always straight into action. Just bam, right in the middle of action. Is that a prologue?
I mean, I guess it is. I guess that's exactly what a prologue is.
Yeah. Well, they say there's also rules for writing that say you're not supposed to start with an action scene because presumably, because we don't know the characters and we don't know the factions, we won't care. We won't care about what we're the East versus the West or whoever it is that happens to be fighting.
Yeah.
Rebel Moon was poorly. Sorry, EL. I'm reading comments. This is what happens when I have the comments up. I get freaking squirrels at them.
It's poorly written. That have been done so much better.
What happened to the robot with the flower?
Yeah.
He had an epiphany. He had an awakening.
Yes, but see, at the end of the movie, there's a visual of the robot,
and then he's like a crown of antlers or something at that point.
Yeah.
And the way he shot that guy, I had to rewind it and watch it again. He's holding the gun like this.
Yeah, dude.
And then all of a sudden, bam!
Boom,
he just
gone.
freaking lays the dude out.
I guess maybe
So
that
much
was
potential.
my lack of paying attention to the story, because there's lots of people like I've watched Daniel Green's rant on Rebel Moon, and wow, he absolutely hated that movie.
Oh, I'll have to find it. I love some hate. I don't try to generate it online, but I do love to swim in a little hate pool now and then. It's fun.
He had a lot to say. Now, me, I liked the visuals. Maybe it was the visual. I enjoyed there's
it had cool stuff and it had cool characters. There's a spider with lightsabers or something, or
the Chinese woman or the Asian woman.
I mean, it was an enjoyable kind of visual feast.
Yes. Yeah.
It just wasn't written very well, but I enjoyed the process of watching the film.
Yeah.
You've just summarized every single Zack Snyder film.
And
Bro,
that's another thing.
I wish he would stop with the slow-mo. Slow motion is not necessary for a good film. And I realize that's his shtick, but every time it gets slow-mo, I'm like,
I don't know, the slow-mo in Dread with Carl Urban, that was cool.
Oh, yeah.
That
I've been
was
wanting to
an
watch
awesome
Dread
film.
again.
Hyper slow-mo. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I don't know. What else has he made, Zach?
Schneider? Well, 300, right? Or was that was Schneider?
Oh,
That was his
highly
sort
like
of breakthrough.
I loved 300.
Yeah.
It's I don't know how well it holds up. A lot of it's cool, a lot of it's not cool.
So stylized, you don't base it on anything else. Yeah. So it exists and it's great. Yeah.
He did Sin City.
Okay. Sin City.
Did,
that was good.
Batman versus Superman. Is that right? And then
Yeah.
the whole release the Schneider
Man of
cut
Steel.
thing. Justice League.
And there's the zombie. What's the zombie one?
Right. It opens with a bunch of slow-mo.
Yeah. Again,
They're going to Vegas. They're going to Vegas.
Yeah. With Batista in it.
Yes.
Dude, I loved that movie. See, you guys aren't getting me on this. I like Zack Snyder, I guess.
I'm Zack Snyder. And if he's watching this, I'm getting text right now. He's hating on me. I know it.
Zach, I like your work, bro. No, that's the cool thing. We could all like and not like what we like. But I get
Exactly. No judgment.
No.
So I've got a bit of a thing with a concept that I work on about. Do you know the film Waterworld?
Yes.
Kevin Costner.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
So I've watched that film many times.
I love that film.
And I've enjoyed every time, but it is awful. It's a bad film. But I enjoy watching it. So what is that? That's like
I like the world is cool.
Yeah.
And Mad Max on the ocean is kind of, you know, because it's like diesel punk sort of.
Yeah.
The idea that we turn the girl like this and upside down, it's actually a map. That's kind of dumb, but a lot of it's kind of dumb. You know, Kevin Costner for some reason has gills.
I've never
actually
seen
was kind of you haven't seen it?
But that's the thing. All the bits that are kind of hooks that kind of draw the story out are irrelevant because you want to spend some time in that world.
The world is cool. I feel like they were drinking. The bad guys were drinking Black Death vodka and smoking Black Death cigarettes, I think. I remember when those were a thing, dude. You could get a pack of Black Death cigarettes for 69 cents for a pack.
Sounds like my grandfather, dude. Like
This was the 90s, bro.
47.
They discontinued the vodka, so we ended up
You
getting
used
that.
to be able to get cancer for way cheaper.
You could get a fifth of Black Death vodka for $5.
Yeah.
That's actually true.
That's good.
I'm just picturing you on your rocking chair on the porch. These damn kids with their vape.
That's a little too close to. I am the
Never heard of
oldest.
it.
I bet. Never heard of him.
Oh man. Well, this has been informative. I have to say that. And my ADD has gone crazy today. I don't know why. I'm over here playing with my beard. And
probably because
I
you're
can't stop.
in vicinity with me, and I exude ADD. Unfortunately, it's just
I understand. When I was sitting in the hospital the other day, dude, I caught myself staring at the wall. My phone was going off. I had my earplugs in. I was listening to an audiobook. I was reading a separate book, and none of those were getting done. Like none of that was getting done. And it was a wake up moment for me. I said, Matt, you need help. So I get it, man. Well, I feel like our next conversation will be much more cohesive with me. I kind of jumped in here, and I have to say, you guys do a pretty good job of keeping everything as far as topics going. And I've been a little bit absent in that area, and I apologize for that.
Don't apologize.
So our next chat, man, we'll have some cool topics I'll actually be on top of.
Well, hey, we need a question. Did we get one? Did we secure? I know John had a couple.
Next time.
Oh yeah, we do need.
We need a question, but we also need suggestions for guests.
Yeah.
Guest suggestions. Guest
So-
suggestions.
Just general suggestions. Let us know what you want.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know in our little thread that we've talked about a couple people, I know that I would love to have, and he's talked about it too, Adrian Gibson has Mushroom Blues coming out.
Yeah.
He's a
That's
fun
gonna be
guy.
fun.
The fungusing.
Yeah, dude. Like, what a cool idea.
Yeah.
Mushroom punk. I'm all for
Yeah.
Mushroom punk.
Yeah.
First time ever hearing that. But yeah, I'm pumped for that. So yes,
Did I see a comment from Tim? Did he
Yes.
suggest he would like
I'm digging right now. And I just saw that Nick Horvath loved Spartacus, so fuck yeah. I don't know if he's still kicking it or if he's still around, but
That's super early where he's at. I can't believe he's up. Holy shit.
right, New Zealand.
Yeah, dude. At 9 o'clock, it's 1 for him. So I guess it's not super early.
Matt, do you just have a wall with the clocks with all the different time zones on it?
I've just after
Damn,
so
dude,
much
you-
time.
You got it down.
Well,
I'm-
I have certain things down. Like I know at 1 o'clock New Zealand, it's 9 o'clock for me the day before. So like
Okay.
tonight
That's
at 9 is the day after for us in New
immediately
Zealand.
confusing.
Yeah, it is, dude. It's crazy.
I know that
And
it's
then-
+5 for Daryl and Tom for us.
Yeah. So like they're about to go nighty night, and I still got to like make dinner and stuff.
I got to go work out with
Yeah.
wifey wife.
I got sanguinous space witches to finish. I ain't gonna go.
Sanguinous space witches. Sanguine. That's just a good word.
I've got that.
All right.
He asked about fighting a fictional character. We've done that too. Listen, I guess we may have to go fishing in the off time between now and the next episode if we need to. We can go.
Just drop them
hunting.
on our pages on Twitter or whatever. Just tag us,
Mhm.
and we'll
Hit one of
put
us,
them in a list.
one or all of us, and we'll bounce it off the boys, and we'll pick one.
Oh, we sure will.
If your beard was made of wood, what would you use to
Comb it.
to comb it? More wood,
A
Good
chainsaw.
bit of wax. Yeah. And,
fire.
Well, good deal. All right. Well, you guys bounce some of those questions off of us, and we will see you next time. Thank you, guys.
See you guys.
Yes, drop us those questions, and we'll answer them. Later, guys.
thank
Have a
you.
good night, guys.